Hey, what's up guys? My name's Primal, and today we're building a Mongolian desert exhibit for Paleo accurate raptors. But before we even start building, you have to understand the environment this is based on, because survival in desert ecosystems isn't easy. In places like the Gobi Desert, everything is controlled by extremes: heat during the day, freezing temperatures at night, and very little water in between. Animals don't just live there, they have to adapt to it. Every ridge, canyon, and water source becomes part of survival. And so, with that in mind, I'm not just building an enclosure, I'm building a habitat that actually reflects how these animals would exist in a harsh desert world. And with that being said, let's get started. First, I started by sculpting the terrain with large flat-top mountains to establish the canyon structure. These formations are inspired by real-world mesas, which are created through long-term erosion, where wind and weather gradually wear away softer rock, leaving behind elevated plateaus. This process takes millions of years in nature, which is why I wanted the landscape to feel layered and naturally carved instead of artificially shaped. In desert environments, terrain like this isn't just visual, it directly impacts survival. Large predators and prey animals often use elevation changes and canyon systems as natural movement corridors, so the shape of the land actually dictates how life moves through it. During this part of the build, I spent several minutes just refining the silhouette of the mountains, because this is what everything else is going to be built around and inside of, and I wanted it to look good. Once the main shape was done, I went in and I painted the mountains with rock textures to give them more depth and realism. In real deserts, exposed rock tells a long history of erosion, shifting climates, and wind abrasion over time. This is especially visible in places like the Gobi Desert, where rock formations appear almost sculpted by wind. These textures help break up flat surfaces and make the environment feel like it has age and history. Next, I built a small little cave into the side of the mountain, and I connected the rocks to the side of the mountain using clusters of boulders. In desert ecosystems, shaded areas are extremely important because temperature regulation is one of the biggest survival challenges. Even a few degrees of shade can determine whether an animal survives the peak hours of heat or not. These types of sheltered formations act as natural cooling zones and protection points from both heat and predators. A lot of times, believe it or not. After that, I created a small oasis pond and scaled it down from a large version I had originally made. In real desert environments, oases are extremely rare but incredibly important. They act as a survival hub for entire ecosystems. They form when underground water reaches the surface, creating a concentrated zone of life in an otherwise dry environment. I kept it smaller because in nature, water sources like this are limited and heavily contested in the wildlife. I then added vegetation around the oasis, placing trees near the water and light grass coverage in surrounding areas. In deserts, plant life clusters around water sources because moisture is the limiting factor for growth. This creates what's known as a microhabitat, a small pocket of life in an otherwise harsh environment. I kept it subtle so it still reads as a desert rather than a forested area. After I added the trees and stuff, I also painted the ground with a very light layer of tall grass, and a little bit later some shrubbery and whatnot, so that the ground doesn't look completely dead and sandy, but it has some life to it around this little pocket of water. So it looks a lot nicer, it looks more realistic, and so it has some looks to it. Because it looks very nice when I added this very small layer of grass on top of this sand. At this point, I got sidetracked and started expanding the whole rest of the map into a sand dune. I began shaping sand dunes using flowing strokes with the terrain tool to mimic how, the wind would make these kind of sand waves with the beautiful white sand that's in the Gobi Desert. In real deserts, dunes are constantly shifting based on wind direction and strength, meaning the landscape is never truly static. Did you know that? It's never truly the same. It's always different, always ever changing. I also tested sand colors and settled on a lighter white tone sand inspired by the real desert reference, like the Gobi Desert. I was looking at images so I could get something similar or close to that. This build isn't perfect, but I wanted to get it as close as I possibly could to the Mongolian desert and its sand dunes. Yeah, when I mean I got sidetracked by the whole map, I mean I got sidetracked by the whole map. So I just kept painting the map and making sand dunes because it was stimulating. It was making me happy that what I was building was coming together all in one big biome. That later in another video, I plan on putting something else in here, but I don't want to spoil that surprise. That's for another video for another day. Anyways, if you guys aren't subscribed, what are you doing? Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're enjoying the video. And, you know, comment down below what you think of the video. It doesn't take super long. It may, well, that depends on how long you're writing. But I do hope you guys are enjoying this video. It takes me a little bit of time, well, a little bit of time. It's been 2 days in the making of this video. It's not more or less the making of the exhibit. Well, it is a contribution. It is also editing the video and voicing this over. At this point, this is where you can really start to see the map starting to take shape into this Gobi Desert in Mongolia. It looks kind of similar. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. And then right after that, after we finished on the dunes a little bit, I started making another hill, another little flat top hill, another mesa, if you will. Not a super big mesa, I just wanted it to be more hillish than anything, to add some realism to the Raptors enclosure, so it was like something they could run up on. It didn't take me super long. It looks really nice. After stepping away and coming back, because it was like 3 in the morning, I was tired, needed to take a nap, I refined the dunes further. I realized real dune ecosystems in the Gobi Desert aren't completely empty. There are often small patches of vegetation between every other dune. These plants are usually extremely hardy species adapted to survive with minimal water. So I added subtle vegetation in select areas to reflect that realism without overloading the environment. I think it looks really good. I think it looks good, it looks realistic, it looks nice. After I was all done adding the fine details to the dunes, next I added heavy fencing around the enclosure. Even though the raptors in this build are about the size of turkeys, I still wanted the containment to feel secure and believable. In real-world zoological design, barriers are often built stronger than necessary to account for worst-case scenarios. And these turkey-sized raptors are very nimble, and I don't want them to eat my guests. Just because they're turkey-sized, they can move fast. They've got very deadly. Oh, what are they called? It's not a dew claw. It's like a curved claw on their foot. I need to look that up. But give me one. I looked it up. It's called a sickle claw. That long sickle-like claw on their foot is called a sickle claw. After I was all done with the fencing, getting all that placed down, looking very lovely, I then placed the park entrance in a tour truck station. This allows the exhibit to function not just as a build, but as an actual guided experience in my park. In real park design, guest flow is just as important as the habitat itself because it shapes how people experience the environment. And I wanted this to be very nice looking. At the end of the video, I think I try to ride on the truck tour guide, but the trucks are so slow and I ended up driving one of the trucks myself and smashing the truck into the gate and missing the gate door completely. It's a whole mess. I don't know if I cut it out or not. I'll probably keep it in just for the giggles and whatnot. But at this point, this is where we start adding the Raptors. I introduce around 6 Raptors into the enclosure. Raptors or more accurately, dromaeosaurids, are believed to have been intelligent predators, with some evidence suggesting possible group behavior depending on the species. Most modern research supports the idea that they had feathers, which would have helped with insulation, possibly display behavior in a desert environment. This also helps regulate temperatures during cold desert nights. At the end, I built a nesting area near the pond, including a raptor or a dromaeosaurid nest with eggs. Many modern birds, descendants of theropod dinosaurs, nest near water sources for protection and resource access. This adds a final layer of realism, turning the exhibit into a living ecosystem almost. Screw it, let's go in first person and just look at the area. Look at them! Yeah, so they're literally just turkey-sized little guys. They're not like the great big raptors from the movie. They're actually really cute, and they were feathered. It was proven that they were feathered. I mean, it's a nice cave for nesting and getting away from the climate. If you guys enjoyed this video, and you want to see more of this, like, subscribe, and comment down below what you would like to see next. What you would like to see me build next. I'll build anything. I love building stuff. Oh, look at this interaction. Oh, I thought it was going to be a more, you know, better interaction, but I'm wrong. Look at him go. You're such a pretty color, too. You got blue on the end of your nose? Or purple? You're all reddish? Oh, that's why there's a goat there. That's why you started running. Sorry there, guys. I got sidetracked. But I'll see you all next video. Love you guys. Bye-bye!
Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so fine. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so fine. Everybody ask me how I know. I smiled at them and said she told me so fine. Everybody, 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 everybody.